Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Joseph Ho in Whitehorse. It was a dream 5 years in the making, an apartment complex in Yellowknife designed for people with disabilities. But Housing NWT and the NWT Disabilities Council are now parting ways over the project. Housing NWT had agreed to sublease this prime downtown lot to the council, but now it wants the land back for a more immediate housing project. Housing NWT suggested several other locations, but the Disabilities Council says it can't make those work, and years of fundraising and architectural designs are out the window.
This project was never just about construction. It was about dignity, equality, and justice. And its collapse is more than bureaucratic failure. It's a devastating blow to the people living with disabilities, including myself, in the Northwest Territories, who remain chronically underserved across housing, healthcare, and social services. This isn't just a failed project, it's a betrayal.
Housing NWT has declined our interview requests so far. In an email, the corporation says the Disabilities Council did not meet milestones in the original lease agreement. The email goes on to say Housing NWT reimbursed the council for out-of-pocket expenses associated with the original lot. In Nunvik, a Pond Inlet man has been sentenced to 9 years in prison after taking a plea deal for manslaughter. In 2023, Daryl Quagak was charged with second-degree murder in the death of Joanne Nutarak. Nutarak died from a stab wound. The court heard she was Quagak's longtime partner and mother to 4 of his children. Quagak was set to be tried for second-degree murder, but this year the Crown and defense agreed to have him plead guilty to a lesser charge. With time served, he has nearly 6 more years to serve in prison. Concern is growing about a homeless encampment in downtown Yellowknife. The government says there is room in shelters, but the people setting up this camp say they would rather stay here and that they need to.
Hi, I'm Craig Strachan from Nova Scotia. I moved here 3.5 years ago. I found myself in an unfortunate situation and I ended up homeless here. And me and Carl here, we're building an encampment to, have somewhere safe to live and help out as many people as we possibly can.
As many as 6 people have been sleeping in the camp so far. They say they're in talks with the city and the territorial government for a more permanent location. But until then, they are continuing to build more shelters here on this spot. Housing NWT says it's continuing to focus on providing more transitional housing for people. Povirnituk, Nunvik, has extended its state of emergency for another 10 days. The community has been facing a water shortage. Quebec's Indigenous Affairs Minister Ian Lafreniere says the municipality made that decision yesterday. A crucial pipe that connects the water treatment plant to the pump station froze in March, restricting water delivery. A temporary pipeline that bypasses that frozen section was installed last week.
We'll still get people in the community now working to help because, yes, having water is the beginning. But as you know, there's also a need to evacuate the sewage. And we do have some issues with vehicles in Punuk. We had the water pipe that froze, but we also got trucks that got broke. So there was a need for mechanic, a need for parts to evacuate the sewage.
The village has been searching for a reliable water and sewage system long term. The former mayor leads a technical committee looking into that.
I hope all ears and eyes and hearts are now open to receive Punuk's efforts to find a long-term solution as a community project. This is, again, I repeat, this is a community project that has been in the works ever since 2018.
The committee is set to meet in Quebec City next month to come up with a plan. Lead has been detected in the drinking water at 2 schools in Yellowknife, École William McDonald Middle School and Range Lake North School. The local school board sent a letter about the situation to families of students. In both cases, water at a single drinking fountain was found to contain more lead than what Health Canada says is safe to drink. More testing is being done to find out where the lead is coming from. The school board superintendent says as of this morning, all drinking water sources were turned off.
The taps have been covered and fountains have been turned off to ensure that students don't accidentally use them. There are water fill stations throughout the schools with pumps and water cups for staff and students, actually. The students are being encouraged to bring a water bottle from home so that they can fill them up at school if they need to.
A spokesperson for the Education Department says 44 schools across the territory were tested for lead. The next step is to test every source of potable water in both schools. A new report by Quebec's Education Ministry has found several governance issues with Nunvik's school board. It alleges failures with financial management and weak protection of sensitive data. Samuel Watt has more.
A report by Quebec's Education Ministry paints a worrying picture about the commissioners at Nunvik School Board. Elected officials allegedly failed to control and monitor the board's finances. In June 2023, the board had a deficit of $26 million, despite posting a surplus in 2019. The report also highlighted flaws with internal processes. For example, changes to financial data could be made without validation by a manager. There are 14 recommendations, including getting external help to train elected officials and re-establish functional governance. The school board disputes several statements, including the suggestion that financial deficits are because of irresponsible management. Board President Sarah Alupa says it's an issue of inadequate funding and a financial recovery plan is in place. The board adds the ministry does not understand Nunvik's education sector. For example, 90% of the training material for commissioners is in French. The school board says action on several recommendations is underway and they'll continue to collaborate on outstanding issues. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Qaluktuk's MLA is asking when his community will get a new high school. Bobby Anaviluk says the current school is too small and does not meet current building standards.
Speaker, this project should have been prioritized long ago, but it seems to have been placed on hold with no clear communication or progress with the community. Can the minister provide an update on the status of the new high school project for the community and tell us when Qaluktuk's new high school will be built?
Education Minister Pamela Gross says a building assessment has been done that will help guide the department's next steps. A second candidate is running for the Yukon Liberal Party leadership. Longtime businessperson Mike Pemberton announced the start of his campaign today. Gabrielle Plonka was there.
I'm privileged and honored to be able to run for this Yukon Liberal leadership race.
The Yukon Liberal Party is electing a new leader this summer. Mike Pemberton is the second candidate to put his name forward. Pemberton is the former chair of the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce. He describes himself as a right-of-center, pro-business leader. He says local businesses are struggling right now.
I want to see how we can work through that to make that easier for those corporations, those medium and those small businesses, how we can work with them to make things better. And they can become more profitable, because profit is not a dirty word. Profit makes the world go round. And I think it's important that we focus hard on that as well.
Pemberton is also president of Yukon Community Crime Stoppers. He says the Yukon has a crime and safety problem, and he would address it as Liberal leader.
I will put in place a community safety program. on day one. There's been lots of conversations around that program for a number of years, but I think the time for talking is over. We need some action on this. And we need to help people. We need to help businesses that are feeling unsafe. We need to help citizens that are feeling unsafe.
There's only one other candidate running against Pemberton so far. Former Kwanlin Dun Chief Doris Bill announced her candidacy 2 weeks ago. The deadline to enter the leadership race is this Thursday. The party will choose its new leader on June 19th. Gabrielle Planca, CBC News, Whitehorse.
King Charles gave the speech from the throne to open Parliament in Ottawa. It covered Canada-U.S. relations and Canada's place in the world as an independent sovereign nation. Ashley Burke was at the Senate to listen firsthand and has this story.
A royal parade for the history books, designed to put Canada's sovereignty on full display. The pomp and pageantry of this two-day visit, all building up to the main event. The King entering the Senate to read the speech from the throne. A first for a monarch in nearly half a century. The King meeting first with a chamber packed with senators, premiers, and former prime ministers. Then starting his speech on a personal note.
Every time I come to Canada, a little more of Canada seeps into my bloodstream, and from there, straight to my heart.
In his own words, the King sending a message to the world.
I've always had the greatest admiration for Canada's unique identity, which is recognized across the world for bravery and sacrifice in defense of national values, and for the diversity and kindness of Canadians.
He acknowledged this is a critical moment for Canada and ended with praise for a country he calls a force of good.
As the anthem reminds us, the true North is indeed strong and free.
Everybody was applauding, and nobody was stopping. I thought we would have clapped in there for 5 minutes.
We are not Americans, and we don't feel we have to tell people that, but it was just very clear what is distinct about our national identity.
A moment of national unity as politicians from across the country got up close.
Canada is a different country. Canada is an ambitious country. And, that's a powerful message, like I said, not only for our friends down south, but around the world.
We have an entire country that is making it clear to the U.S. that we are independent and free and not interested in being part of the United States. If this doesn't get through to President Trump, I don't know what will.
The speech from the throne also laid out the government's priorities, from building more housing to addressing the cost of living and spending more in defense to protect Canada's sovereignty. But the Conservatives leader says he needs more details ahead of a vote, and that will be the government's next big test. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Many Northwestel customers will see a service disruption tonight between midnight and 6 a.m. Planned maintenance will take out services in Yellowknife, Hay River, Fort Smith, Fort Fitzgerald, and Thabathi Denesulane First Nation. In Yellowknife, local and long-distance calling will be affected, along with DSL internet, cell services, and 911 service. In the South Slave communities, long-distance and 911 calls will be affected. Calling 911 from other regions might be impacted as well. People are asked to check local government or RCMP websites and Facebook for what to do during emergencies. The first residents of Rankin Inlet's new long-term care facility are moving in. This week, up to 4 elders living at Ottawa's Embassy West retirement home will be going home. Bernard Anui has been at Embassy West for over 3 years because of dementia. He's among those moving in soon. His younger brother is excited.
Really happy to hear that. It's been a long time waiting. Obviously, him being in Ottawa is very far away from home, and we can't see him big because he's pretty far away from home. So we were really excited about the news of Bernard coming home.
The opening of the 24-bed facility will mark the first time that elders needing the highest level of care can get it in the territory. In the Yukon, Dawson City's business community says delays renewing placer mining licenses will hurt the local economy. The Klondike Visitors Association and the Dawson City Chamber of Commerce say the industry contributes nearly half the town's commercial revenue. Both groups say if miners cannot work because of expired licenses, everyone suffers. Chris McIntyre has more.
Plaster mining supports this helicopter service and both the town's grocery stores, the hardware store, and this hotel. I think you get the idea. Plaster mining plays a big part in Dawson's local economy. Justine Hobbs is the interim executive director for the Dawson City Chamber of Commerce. She also holds a seat on the town's municipal council. She says if plaster miners are unable to work because of expired license, they're not going to be able to reinvest into the community. That's why Hobbs says the Dawson Chamber of Commerce stands with the Klondike Placer Miners Association on its recommendations to the government,
which was the temporary extension of existing water licenses, because we want to prevent that economic disruption. And we also want to make sure that the environmental assessments are done thoroughly and they're well conducted. So a temporary extension would allow for that. Yes, it's the miners are being affected by this delay, but rather all these other businesses are going to be affected if the placer miners aren't able to operate.
Ricky Mawagunditse is the executive director of the Klondike Visitors Association. He says Dawson's a mining town, and the allure of the gold rush brings tourists from all over the world. Mawagunditse says with little information being shared by the government on this issue, he's unsure how this summer is going to look.
When we have situations like this that have the potential to have dire implications, not only for a single sector, but a sector that contributes over 50% to the Dawson economy, I think there is value in transparency. Without that, the assumption is that not enough is being done to resolve this issue.
I spoke to a few placer miners who are in different stages of the license renewal process. They say that a good chunk of their short mining season is already over. Although they're frustrated, they all have one thing in common: hope. Hope that the territorial government can come up with a plan, and soon, to get them back to work before their mining season is over. Chris McIntyre, CBC News, Dawson City.
Wildfires are forcing hundreds of people from their homes across the prairies. In northern Alberta, nearly 1,400 people in Swan Hills have been ordered to evacuate. Officials say firefighting efforts are being challenged by dry and windy conditions. Emily Williams reports.
I'm here in Whitecourt, where Swan Hills residents are settling in after evacuating their town last night. An out-of-control wildfire burning 7 kilometers north of their town pushed nearly 1,400 residents to pack their bags. The fire was 2,300 hectares this morning, where crews worked overnight using specialized night vision equipment. We heard from the mayor of Whitecourt this morning that over 700 residents have checked into the evacuation center behind me.
By having people register, we get a good understanding of where they are. It's also important for if family are looking for them. Like, not everyone has a cell phone, but if family are looking for them, they can get registered in.
Swan Hills residents are no stranger to evacuation after having to undergo a similar process only 2 years ago. They say this time around, the process went very smoothly, and they know exactly what to grab when they get that order.
We packed up suitcases. We have our important paper box to begin with. We just scooped that, made sure we had the animals, the kids, treats, lots of treats.
Tell me what was going through your head when you were deciding what to bring.
I didn't want to lose pictures of my kid because she's passed, right? So I needed to bring her with me, and I brought her baby blanket that I've been sleeping with since she died. So yeah, those were the important things, and the rest is just material.
It's been hot, dry, and windy here in Whitecourt, and Alberta wildfire officials told me last night that while some parts of the province saw rain, it isn't expected to make much of a difference. And thunderstorms even sparked new fires. So crews are expecting a busy couple days ahead. Emily Williams, CBC News, Whitecourt, Alberta.
A full fire ban is now in effect for the towns of Fort Smith and Hay River in the Northwest Territories. Both towns announced the bans on Facebook today. A full ban means no outdoor open flames are allowed. Strong winds and extreme fire conditions are expected for the South Slave region over the next few days. Propane appliances such as gas barbecues may be used, but only with extreme caution. People are also being asked not to drive motor vehicles like dirt bikes or quads in forests or areas with tall grasses. And there is one new confirmed fire in Wood Buffalo National Park near Fort Smith. It's east of Needle Lake, 5 kilometers south of Highway 5 at kilometer 139. Drivers should be careful due to smoke along the highway. So far, the fire is small but is classified as out of control. Fire crews are working to contain it. Food security is a growing concern in the north. Store-bought food can be expensive and not always fresh. In Fort Smith, a team at Aurora College is hoping to change that. They're growing their own food, sharing knowledge, and working with the community. Carla Ulrich has that story.
And we also have a food bank plot. I forgot to mention that. So we've asked gardeners to give back this year, so they're helping out with the food bank plot.
Sarah Roslin is the manager of the South Slave Research Center at Aurora College. She leads a project called the Boreal Berry Patch Collective. Last summer, the group planted a variety of berry patches around the community. And this year, they're testing out different varieties of strawberries to see what grows best in Fort Smith. Roslin wants to get people thinking about their own food independence.
It's a project about increasing food security in Fort Smith. It's about opening up the conversation about local food, both like the stuff that we grow and stuff that's harvested traditionally, and finding ways to increase the amount that is grown and harvested locally in the community.
The center also manages the community garden and facilitates free gardening workshops. Trent Stokes is an agricultural technician in training. He says this work matters now more than ever.
I believe that food security is a major thing that is overlooked in the north. And if we can just all get on the same page, we can diminish costs for fresh food, and it's a lot healthier for people.
Another member of the team this year is Jane Mariotti. Mariotti is a master's student at the University of Guelph. She's in the north looking at soil quality. Mariotti will be collecting samples from across the South Slave. They will be using those samples to understand how wildfires and the surrounding landscape can affect the soil quality.
We're going to look at the nutrients in it, the nutrients in particular that are important for growing crops, and see if we can associate any of those nutrients with particular tree species or vegetation communities or any other environmental variables that we can use as indicators to tell people, or this is where the best soils are located.
Mariotti says the work will help locals better understand what crops might thrive in the South Slave and what conditions to look for to find the best soil. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
It is baby season at the Wildlife Preserve near Whitehorse, but one calf has needed a little more help than the rest. Jackie Hong has more.
It was a rough start for one of the Yukon Wildlife Preserve's newest additions. While the muskox calf was healthy at birth, his mother had trouble fully expelling the placenta. That left her extremely uncomfortable and meant she wasn't able to give the calf his crucial first feed.
We ended up having to intervene, and so we're now bottle raising this, hand raising this little baby muskox.
Mom and baby are both doing fine now, but that initial separation meant they missed an important bonding window. The unnamed calf will spend a few more weeks getting bottles and pellet food. He'll then be gradually reintroduced to the rest of the muskox herd at the preserve. He's in a separate but adjacent pen for now, where the care team can keep an eye on him.
Normally I just go in and check the food and the water, and then his hay in the house, and if it's not more in good quality, or it's just stems left and no more leaves, then I take it out and then we just replace it.
While he's being human raised, the team wants him to retain as much of his muskox characteristics as possible. That means making sure he doesn't get too friendly or too used to being around humans. But while people are keeping their distance, it can be hard to look away.
On a scale of 1 to 10, this guy is 11 on cuteness.
This little muskox is only 4 weeks old, but he's already doubled his weight.
But full-grown muskox can hit 350 kilograms. This little guy has a couple more years before he hits that. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. We'll leave you tonight with some big catches from the past few weeks at fishing derbies across Nunavut. I'm Joseph Ho. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.